going?
Yo,
Let's get
cool.
going, shall we, Cage?
Oh yeah.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. Oh my! Happy Wednesday, everybody. Cage, how? Yesterday was a full
I'm higher than
content
you.
day.
I don't have like for anybody who's not on YouTube. I feel like my head is like way higher than yours. I got to like even it out here and like do this differently. So it looks more sort of like.
There you go.
Okay, wonderful.
You make it work. You make it work.
I try.
So yesterday was a full content day, Cage.
Yep.
PWCC, eBay, all that stuff. Maybe we'll save that kind of conversation to the end. But there is something that I was thinking about, and it's kind of very macro. So maybe we'll start here, and we'll go into a few different topics. Any topics that you want to discuss, feel free to bring them up. But I'm noticing a little bit of like cards were a good for a long time, right? Just from like a very basic business standpoint, cards were a good for a very long time. And now they've become this asset class. And this change, right? Like if you think about it, eBay was built to sell goods. Beanie Babies, same thing happened. They were good and that toy, and then they turned into, let's trade them, let's make money. But there are mops, cardboard supplies. eBay was made to sell goods. And how much of it is, and Cage, jump in here if you'd like, but like I think it's a shift of cards are going from goods to asset classes. And I think it's confusing a lot of people. I think a lot of businesses aren't sure what to make of it. And I think a lot of this is even bigger than this one situation. They don't want to miss out on the opportunity. They don't want to miss out on the gold rush.
Okay. That's true. So it's like a FOMO type of thing.
It is. It is because just like, I always try to, the reason I was thinking like this is whenever there's situations, whether in my personal life, in business, you try to take a step back and have a little perspective. You ask, why is this happening? Why did it happen the way it did? And a lot of things have happened in the last 12, 18 months in sports cards. And I'm wondering, was this unexpected? What's going on? And I'm wondering if it's something so basic as cards without any notice gradually changed from a good to an asset class, right? And assets and goods are traded completely different. When you buy a good, you expect the price to go to zero. You're never going to resell that product, more than likely. You're buying a gift, a toy, a laptop, right?
Yep.
You have some utility and usage out of it. Whereas with cards, you're investing. So you're buying something with the expectation that you're either going to be able to get your money back or more money at a future date. And the kind of the laws, regulations, platforms, due diligence, financial responsibility, it changes from those two, right? When you're buying goods and services, when you're buying goods, you're making sure that there's no counterfeit items. And I think that still happens with cards. You're making sure that the sellers are legit, and that still happens with cards. But with asset classes, you're starting to deal with problems that you haven't been prepared to deal with. Shilling, for example, right? Yep. And it seems like an easy problem to fix, but maybe these companies actually don't have, like eBay, right? We said, well, PWCC shilling, but a lot of people said eBay should be responsible for that, right? eBay knows who's on their platform. eBay knows who the people bidding, and they should be the ones, because it happens not just with PWCC, it happens across the board. This is a common topic that came up in the last 24 hours. eBay should do something about it. What if they just don't have the technology? What if they haven't come around to learning how to handle problems like this?
Well, and it's difficult to say that they have the technology to find, shill bidding on one occasion for PWCC or whatever it is that they're going to be, utilizing, and then say they don't have the technology to police it themselves. Obviously, they're able to police their seller. I think it's just an unwillingness to police buyers. eBay has shown over time that and it's not taking a side here, but eBay has shown over time that they are very buyer friendly. Right? They want to get as many people on the platform buying as they can. It took basically a monumental shift in the hobby for the buyer return policy to not be no returns, to go from 30 days to 3, right? Because as we talked about here a million times, eBay basically was allowing people a free return policy, basically leveraging, arbitraging, being able to like invest in somebody for 30 days. It sounds good, man. I want to sip. Invest in somebody for 30 days, and if they get injured or if they don't perform, they can just return it without any kind of problem, right? So that's, the fact they did that's great, but it was like begrudgingly that they did that, And I mean, you have a PayPal dispute, you have an eBay dispute. It 99.9% of the time it's found in favor of the buyer, not the seller. So you kind of know what you're getting from eBay. I don't think they have any real interest in policing the stuff. I think they wanted their sellers to police the stuff, and so. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the story is. I can tell you there's probably more to the story than you will ever know. I reread the eBay email again last night, and I think it's hilarious that they use the terms like someone associated with PWCC instead of an employee of PWCC, instead of someone from PWCC. There's someone associated with. I mean, that's an interesting thing, right? It just is. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, you have a lot of people associated with you. I honestly don't even know what that means. It's a nice little legal term of art, right? So
P. Ryan had a good Instagram live. If you guys didn't check it out, maybe it's worth it. He put on this tinfoil hat, but he thought it was actually a negotiating tactic by eBay, kind of a power move, because PWCC, and I'm speculating he didn't say this, PWCC pays lower rates to eBay than other consigners.
Just like everybody else who does bulk business pays lower rates for everything else in the world. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff there. And I'm sure they weren't happy that PWCC took the premier auction, which is the big ticket items, off of their platform and put it on their own platform. I mean, these are, just look at what's going on right now. I mean, there's millions of dollars of cards. There's 2 Tom Brady cards are approaching $1 million, like a 600 and change, a 700 and change. I mean, that's a lot of money. And not to eBay. You made that clear yesterday. It's a lot of money to anyone else that's just off the platform now. So, it's interesting. eBay's huge, man. That's a void. So let me throw this out there, right?
Sure.
Let me give a little.
You guys are curious. eBay's up 1% today, so their stock.
Yeah, but you know whose stock should be down? The hobby stock should be down, because here's what the difference is, right? I was an eBay seller before using a company like PWCC, right? And, tastes change. With the modern taste of the hobby, Luka, right? Basketball. Mm-hmm. Do you know what's huge for both of those things? You know what market's huge for both of those things? The Asian market, the overseas market. And I'm sure that if PWCC came on here, they would let you know just how many bidders, how many buyers they have outside of the U.S., how much money is spent on these cards to prop up the market, to bring those higher end cards up, to bring up even the moderately priced ones that are going to Asia. You know what happens if I'm left to my own devices? You wind up with, for lack of a better way of saying this, people in the United States selling to other people in the United States. That's just what happens, right? And I think
shrinks the pool.
Unless and until somebody fills the PWCC void, right? I could take my cards from PWCC now and list them myself on eBay, but I'm not going to get the same buyers. I'm not going to get the same eyeballs. I'm not going to get the same market that PWCC was getting. People from overseas who used PWCC because of the vault, specifically to house things here, right? And now they don't. I mean, yes, sure, there are other vaults and there are other companies, but PWCC, they operated in a different market than what Golden is currently in the high end of the market. So I've been saying this for a long time, that I was nervous about that segment of cards that's, below $50,000, below the threshold that Ken is going to be selling these cards at, right? And this is just another nail in that coffin. It's another thing for me to be nervous about for those cards, because look, the cards are still great. The cards are still worth money. But when you take out or you make it harder for a segment of collectors to be involved in the hobby, right? I'm not saying that they're just or not going to leave the hobby now, right? But part of why all this tech has come in, part of all the vendors have come in, part of all these new platforms come in is ease of use, right? Ease of use for the customers to make it easy to add new participants to the market, right? And this, I believe, is a step in the opposite direction. And it makes it harder for those participants to remain as active in the hobby. And I think we're going to see some effects of that, some impact on pricing because of it. Think of how wide of a net. I mean, I think yesterday at 3 p.m, PWCC had something like 18,000, just under 18,000 listings. And within hours, there were 18,000 listings gone, just no longer on the platform. I know eBay's got a lot of money. I know eBay's doing stuff, but for the hobby, where are those 18,000 cards going now? Where are they going to be listed?
I didn't think of it the way you put it, because now that I'm connecting the dots, a good friend of mine joined PWCC. He works out of Asia. There's a lot of relationships and a lot of money out in Asia and a lot of collectors. And just like you said, think about people that are in our submission group, in our Instagram groups, in our Luca Nation community. They send us cards to send to PSA to get graded, and then they wanted them vaulted. Now what are they supposed to do? So it's a brilliant point. And we always talk about, is the hobbies going global? This definitely hurts it from continuing to grow globally, and it kind of actually temporarily might shrink that pool of money.
Listen, I don't want to also, I don't want to say, wow, what a huge loss, PWCC. It is. They were serving a function. They were a great middleman for a lot of private deals. They were very high exposure, and that exposure, it'll still be there to some extent on their own website, but it will not be the same exposure that eBay gave them for the lower end type of cards. That said, let's just make sure we throw this one out there, right? I mean, I'm saying eBay didn't phrase their email the right way, and maybe it's a negotiating tactic, and but if PWCC was doing something they shouldn't be doing, then this is what happens. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what was done. I don't know what led to this. I don't know whether or not eBay had this thing from 3 years ago in their back pocket, and that the eBay rules allow them to raise this violation at any point in time, whenever they want to, as a negotiating tactic or just to boot somebody off the platform. I don't know what the answer is there. I really don't. I wish I did. I don't know whether we'll ever know. But yeah, I mean, there are some impacts to the hobby. The biggest question that I've gotten, by the way, is who fills the void? Like who is the one that is on the phone with eBay, or who was already on the phone with eBay to fill that void? Is it going to be, I was talking about it, it sounded like a beer brand. Is it going to be Golden Light, Lite? And instead of just having the monthly premiere auctions on the Golden site, they're going to do Golden Light and have everybody consign them stuff that's coming straight back from PSA now, and do Golden's eBay version. Is it going to be alt? Is it going to be somebody else? You know what I mean? Does Probstein see an increase, or is Probstein the next domino to fall? Who knows? So listen, it makes for good content. It
gives us a ton to talk about.
And Lamine James, if you haven't seen his posts, he was on fire yesterday. I mean, it was just like one every hour, and each one was better than the next. So great stuff. Is that enough? Did we beat the shit out of this horse?
I think we beat the shit out of it. You're absolutely right. I didn't even want to start today's episode with it. I don't know why I did, so I apologize to our Luca Nation community. What else, Cage? I like my play. I've been looking at a few releases that are coming up, seeing how they're going to impact the market. So I'm excited about that. Anything that you have that's top of mind, that's interesting, that might add value to our community? You want to dig into your play today?
I like my play. I also want to say, as much as we've crapped on them, the Yankees have caught the Red Sox. They're tied with the Red Sox. Not for the division lead. Tampa still has that, but the Yankees won 2 straight from the Red Sox yesterday. They swept a doubleheader, and they've caught the Red Sox. Wow. Their pitching is terrible, and they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs, but they may actually get there. But the cool thing that I saw, it's one of those things, guys. I'd love to put some money where my mouth is sometimes. But starting the season off, the Giants were something like a plus 2,500 to win the division. As of yesterday, they're now ahead of the Dodgers as the favorite to win that division, the NL West.
You called that.
Very few people would. Yeah, I said they were going to do. I think they were going to overachieve. I don't think I would have had the stones to say they were going to win the division outright when you have the Dodgers and the Padres both there. Mm-hmm. But it's been a resurgence for a lot of people. I mean, Evan Longoria was supposed to be a beast player for the Rays. He came up with as much fanfare as anybody in the game right now. That was like one of those can't miss prospects, and he's had a great career, but he didn't turn into what everybody thought he was going to turn into.
He won a World Series with them though. So.
Yeah, so we got there's a lot of fun stuff going on in baseball. But you know the thing that shocked me the most yesterday? I was watching television. I was watching Sports Center. I was watching, highlights. It was late. I got a bunch of phone calls after our live last night from a bunch of folks. Everybody wants reassurance about the hobby. Everybody wants to tell their side of the story. Everybody wants to ask questions about, how they can pivot based on this news, you name it. But the one thing that I saw was this: unless I caught it wrong out of the corner of my eye, October 18th. Do you know what day today is?
It's my grandpa's birthday.
What, October 18th?
It's going to be 85. Yeah.
So it's August 18th today. So that means 2 months. Unless I caught it wrong.
NBA season starts.
Opening day.
NHL.
For NBA. Which means we're 2 months out, which means I should have given you guys an NBA play today because you got to start buying that. It's going to be here before you know it, The season's going to change. The leagues are going to start to change colors. People are going to start buying Halloween costumes way too early. And before you know it, basketball's going to be back. And we're going to be talking about Davion Mitchell as one hell of an outside
I like Davion Mitchell.
Listen, what surprised me, I watched the Kings won. If the Kings got paid for winning summer league championships, they would just be the best team of all time. That's all they do. They just win. Chris Carter.
How does Luke Walton still have a job? I don't understand.
All Chris Carter does is catch touchdowns. All the Kings do is win summer league championships. But Davion Mitchell, he has a decent jumper. I mean, he came in as an NBA ready perimeter defender, and he was shutting people down. I like Peyton Pritchard, but talk about clamped down. Right, Davion Mitchell made him look silly yesterday, like legit NBA ready defense. And if he can mix that up with a legitimate jumper, you might have something there on that team. A lot of good young, talent.
He's also 22 years old, Cage. He's older than Jason Tatum.
Yeah, he's 10 years younger than Devontae Graham.
He's not older than Jason Tatum. That's not fair.
We were making jokes. Same thing. He's not 10 years younger than Devontae Graham, but we make jokes here. Point being, I got excited about that. I saw that and I was like, wow, I'm excited about that. I'm excited that from a card perspective, and from a collector standpoint, it's here we talk about the playoffs and baseball coming. You name it. It's tough to get excited. It really is. It was tough to get excited about baseball playoffs. Who you watching? Who do you want to watch? So can I roll into my play with that?
Sure.
Here's a fun one for you guys, right? So I took this one out because of potential exits in mind, right? Also, it might be something that's occurring as you're listening to this episode, at least part of it for an exit. Do you know how many players in the history of baseball, my friend, have had both 3,000 hits and 500 home runs?
Got to be 2 or 3 to 5 people.
Yeah, so very good. So Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Albert Pujols, Eddie Murray, Rafael Palmeiro, and A-Rod. That's it. 6 total people. Now, Eddie Murray was awesome, by the way, switch hitting home run hitter who basically hit 30 home runs all the time. He's a Hall of Famer. I played for the Mets for a little while, but mostly known for the Orioles. And if you don't know who Eddie Murray is, take a look at his 78 Topps card. It's a cup card. It's one of those few that it's his rookie card, but it has the cup on it, sort of like your Dan Alvarez.
Switch hitting, 30 home run, 500 home runs in his career.
So he had 500 home runs and 3,000 hits. He was one of my favorite players growing up. I loved it when he came over to the Mets because I don't think he ever hit 50. He might not have ever hit 40, but he just continued to hit home runs. Switch hitter, professional, really good player, and a cool rookie card from 78 Topps that they're in PSA 10. It's becoming impossible to find. It's really going up there. It'll probably be, a $60,000 card at some point in time. But think of that list: A-Rod and Rafael Palmeiro not in the Hall of Fame yet because they both have steroid questions surrounding them. Albert Pujols not in the Hall of Fame because he is still playing, but he will get in there. Murray, Mays, and Aaron. I mean, talk about names, right? This is a Hall of Fame list. I have a play for you guys of the next person who joins that club. Right. And obviously, when you are playing baseball, a sport that's been around since the 1860s with the Cincinnati Redlegs, at least cards have been around that long. I think the sport might have been around even longer than that. But sport's been around 150, 160 years. If you're going to be the seventh person to be added to a stat group with names like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, that's a good group to be in. And the funny part is, this is a guy that people aren't talking about right now because he hasn't joined either, but could potentially join both this season. And I'm going to give you a rookie card of him. PSA 10 is only going to cost you like $800 ish. You can cover the population on him. We'll give you different options. You can buy 9 if you want, but the guy's name is Miguel Cabrera. So this is a player who's won championships. This is a player who won Triple Crown. It's a player who is going to get into the clubs that I just told you about, which he's a surefire, first ballot Hall of Famer. And you can buy his 2000 Topps Chrome. There's both Topps and Topps Chrome, so we'll do it's number T40. The Topps paper is about $800 right now. There's a bunch of them at auction. You might be able to snipe one cheaper than that. Is a total of 1,893 PSA 10s in the paper. Now, if you want to get a little fancier, there's only 597 of the Chrome version of the card. Topps Chrome number T40, same number, same card, only in Chrome. Only 597 of that. That's going to run you closer to $2,000 though. Obviously, more expensive play. If you want to dumb this down a little bit, you can go with a PSA 9. And there's not that many of those either. Especially when you compare yourself to this guy's pop to some of the other cards that are out there now. It's from a traded set, so it's a Topps traded. That's the T40. It only came out in like set form, sort of like Barry Bonds 86 Topps traded, Mark and Bo Jackson's 86 Topps traded. A lot of other rookies who have cards just in traded sets. So this dude, I think he's playing against Ohtani tonight. It'd be pretty nice if he gets a hold of one off Ohtani. He's got 12 home runs this year already, so he's clearly hitting home runs still. He's not limping across the finish line. I think he's 38 years old, so it may not be his last season. It may. He's still batting 250. His WAR is about even, but he has 490. Nobody's really talking about that he could be the next inductee into the 500 home run club. It could happen literally any night. But when you throw this on there, he's played in 94 games and has 85 hits. So it's not a hit a game per se, but it's close. There's still a quarter to a third of the season left, in baseball here. I don't know whether he gets the 3,000 this year because he needs 49 more hits. Now, if he gets a little hot, goes on a little bit of a tear, he could hit 500 and 3,000 this year. Whether he does or not this year, and he finishes with 29.90 or he finishes with 29.85, clearly someone's going to let him come back and do the Bernie Mac Mr. 3000 thing.
And Cage, isn't it always the talk of hitting those numbers more important than even hitting them? Like if he's at 499 and 2,995 hits with 5 games left, it's going to be all over ESPN, especially at that point in the season. So it's actually the hype of getting those to that elite club, to exclusive club.
Which is why it's a little weird that I haven't heard much about him, in this at all. I mean, people really just, I guess, are not really paying too much attention to baseball. But he's at 499 right now, and I haven't seen a Sports Center, live break-in. I haven't seen, any kind of stuff like that.
No breakers are pulling Miggy Cabrera cards.
No, what I mean is like a break-in. Like Sports Center, like if you're watching a game on ESPN, they say, okay, we're gonna go live now and show you Miguel Cabrera's at bat. We're gonna break into their game and that kind of stuff.
Do you know why that is, Cage?
No.
Sports Center sucks now.
Okay.
90s babies, 80s babies who grew up on the real Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt, Stuart Scott, Linda Cohn. Remember that Sports Center, Cage, when they would go?
Yes.
And now tuning in, Sammy Sosa, did he hit a home run? Tuning into Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, the race. Remember that?
I do.
I guess
I do remember it. It was amazing. I mean, it's am
I off? Am I off? Tell me, Luca Nation, am I off? Is Sports Center the way it is run today as good as it was in the 90s? If I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. I'll take it back. I don't think it is, Cage.
I mean, listen, I don't watch it as much only because there's just so many other ways to consume your sports news now. It used to be the end of the day. You threw it on for half an hour. You got every score. You got everything that there was, right? So, and listen, and there's fun stuff. Guys, you know what I want you to do? Take a look. Just type in Miguel Cabrera right now and click news, wherever you get your news from, right? And you know what you're going to find, hopefully, one of the first articles, one of the first things, it's Shohei Ohtani in the first inning of the game yesterday. He gets a single, and he gets the first base. He almost hits the pitcher with it. He gets the first base, and he kind of like leans over to take the protector off of his calf, and Miguel Cabrera, who's playing first base, swipes his batting gloves out of his pocket. He takes them out of Shohei Ohtani's back pocket. Little playful, you know what I mean? Like a little fun stuff. Like kids out there, Miguel Cabrera is not a kid, but they're out there having fun. Ohtani had no idea, right? No clue. But then the other batting glove kind of falls out of his pocket. He sees it. Ohtani's hysterically laughing. They catch Cabrera trying to steal his stuff. And then Ohtani goes and steals second base. It's fun stuff, right? It's like the old guard, new guard, like that clip, right? It should literally be everywhere. And yet I guarantee you that there may be like 3 people listening to this who know even what I'm talking about. And this happened yesterday.
One of them's Preston, and the other is Baseball Authority.
Yeah, Preston Amato, exactly. So what was funny? So then Ohtani gets up again in the second inning, and he draws a walk, right? So he gets a walk. You know what he does? He jogs up the first baseline, takes his batting gloves, and hands them to the bat boy. So he's not going to give Miguel Cabrera a chance to do it a second time. I mean, it's really, really funny, fun stuff. And yet you have this playfulness back and forth. Today, Ohtani's pitching, and maybe Miguel Cabrera gets to his 500th home run off of him. And nobody cares. That's the weirdest. It's like, we talk about cardboard relevant, the whole deal. This is one of those few times, though, where I think it will remain cardboard relevant. Maybe not right now, but over time. This guy is one of the greats of this generation. He's got the personal achievements,
no doubt.
Triple Crown. He's got the team achievements, and he's about to hit some milestone numbers from a personal standpoint. And, we're lucky to get to watch it. That's the way I feel.
No question, no doubt in my mind. By the way, you were right about Ohtani. He's at 39 home runs.
So don't say I'm right yet. I mean, the dude can go on a tear. He did 10 home runs in 1 week, right? But he has
was at
6.
30.
He was
at 33 at the All-Star break, right?
Yeah.
And you said he's going to hit 15 max.
So he's going to have 15. Yep, no more than 15.
Cool. I'm going to give you guys a play and then a card to look at. Play as in a player and a card as in a type of buy. So first is a player that coming
I'm
into
intrigued.
this year, I think he's going to have a Tyler Hero-esque season. So he's someone, Cage, you brought him up in the beginning of this episode. He's killing it in Summer League. Absolutely destroying people. He could shoot. He's crafty. He's smart. He's the new age of point guard, right? He is just the new age of point guard that is shoot first. I said this about Maxey, and I'm saying this about Peyton Pritchard. He looks good, Cage. And they had Cardiac Kemba on that team last year. They had Marcus Smart on that team. There wasn't a ton of rotation spots for him. He was a rookie. And then you get to the playoffs, you're not going to play a rookie in the playoffs. Coming into the playoffs.
We're talking about the playoffs.
They were exactly who we thought they were. And we let them get away. Do you know who that's from?
No clue.
Dude, come on.
No, I have no idea.
Arizona Cardinals coach Dennis Green.
Denny.
They were exactly who we thought they were. And we let them get away.
I don't know who you think you are. I am.
Peyton Pritchard. I think he's going to get way more time this year. He's still going to be coming off the bench, but he's going to be coming off the bench. You know how basketball starters, yes, that matters, but it's rotations, right? So Marcus Smart, he just got that contract. More than likely, he's going to be their starting guard. Tatum is going to be their offense, Jaylen Brown. But I see a second unit that's Pritchard and Tatum. And I think that unit's going to work really, really well. And I see Pritchard averaging 17, 18, 19 points a game off the bench this season.
What about Josh Richardson? Doesn't matter. He's irrelevant.
I hate Josh Richardson with a passion. I think he's terrible. He is so bad. The Heat fleeced the Sixers, and then somehow he ended up with the Mavs and Luka. And that was he's terrible. He's just not a good player. Josh Richardson is terrible. I don't have any other words to describe it. He had,
tell me, who's the starting 5 for the Celtics, right? It's Tatum and Jaylen Brown. right? And then who else do you put out there? Marcus
Marcus
Smart's still
Smart.
there, right? So you got those three, and then who? Like which one? A Schroeder? I guess Schroeder's a starter, or are they bringing Schroeder off the bench? But they got a lot of guards.
Al Horford.
So so is that their starting five? I mean, what happens? Do Taco and Anus just sit on the bench? Anus and Taco? You got
What would be my starting five?
I mean, Anus Cantor, they signed him for no reason. Taco Fall, he's just going to be tall. All three of the rookies that they signed.
I could see it being Marcus Smart, Dennis Schroeder, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. I could see that being a lineup that starts that they try. I think they're going to figure out their five this season, right? Like when you have a new team like this, a new roster, you got Schroeder, you got Enes Kanter, there you got Horford, you got Miles Brown, who I think is actually going to be very good for them. You don't know who the starting five is, but I do think off the top of my head, it will be something like what I said.
Chris Dunn, that's kind
Chris
of
Dunn sucks.
Carson Edwards, another guard. Romeo Langford, I guess he could play forward. Aaron Nesmith, I guess he could play.
These guys forward. Are borderline.
Jabari Parker's a forward. I mean, they got a lot of Tremont Waters, Grant Williams is a forward. They just got a lot of.
You're just naming their whole roster.
Like a lot of people because they got a lot of players. That's what I mean. I love Peyton.
Those are not players, Cage. Those are roster spots. Those are not players.
Right.
Those are like guys that are like 6 years. Jabari Parker, guys like
Jabari
6 years
Parker
prime, which he never even had.
If he's 6 years past his prime, he hit his prime when he was 20. It's pretty awesome.
He came in chunky and he never got in shape. That's what happens when you're playing against the best of the best. No, dude, Jabari was supposed to be a really good prospect, and then he never shaped up. But point is, Peyton Pritchard, look for him to take a step up this season. I think he's going to get more time. I think he's going to get – it's not even time. It's opportunity. When you see a roster like that, so many new people, Brad's going to go to him, man. Brad trusts him, and Brad's just the GM, but Brad trusts this guy, and I think you're going to see a significant step up. Next, this rubs me the wrong way. This kind of frustrates me. Color blasts are more expensive than true – I don't want to call these RPAs, but I'm going to call it an RPA. A Spectra RPA. A color blast of Giannis in a 9.5 is more expensive than a Spectra rookie patch of Giannis from 2013. That to me makes no sense, Cage. It makes no sense to me. Does it make a lot of sense to you?
No. But it is a supply and demand type of thing. There are a lot of people out there who like Color Blast, just like there are a lot of people out there who like Kabooms, and there are just not that many people who collect Spectra.
I think that's going to change. I really think it's going to change, man. Spectra's game worn. I believe that's across the board. They're game worn. I'm not going to check at 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, but I do believe that they're game worn. Beautiful autographs. My play is Giannis, but you could apply this to any player and look for his Spectra card. The Spectra cards are where Giannis actually signed his full name. I always talk about this. They has beautiful patches. It's a beautiful card horizontal from his 2013 year, and it costs $2,000, $3,000, which is half the price people are paying for his Kabooms, which is 70% of the price that people are paying for his Color Blasts. And I think with all of this nonsense with National Treasures and non-game worn and not even player worn, you're going to start to go back and people are going to be like, well, I kind of want the real stuff. And even things like this, like one color patches, traditionally people don't like them, right? People want dual color and triple color and like they love the texture. But even like those Crown Royal, those patches that are kind of ugly-ish, but at least they're game worn. Mm-hmm. I even see those going up. I see.
So do I. You want to know why?
Tell me.
Nobody's subbing in a single color patch. At least it's authentic. With all the drama you got going on now, people putting in these multicolor patches and like this is not the patch that came with the card. No one's doing that with a single color patch. At least that's the way the card was. That's the way the card left the factory. You get an extra level of confidence. So
it's.
I'm only half joking, folks.
No, so that's the play, guys. We got a hurricane kicking into my left here. So I got to run. I have a few errands to do. Cage, good episode. Any final words of wisdom for our community?
No. Yes. keep it positive, folks. We don't know the facts about everything, right? Forget about there's drama. There was different drama last week. There was different drama the week before that. There'll probably be different drama next week. What brought you to the hobby and what kept you in the hobby has not really changed. I've seen some fantastic articles and headlines from people we've talked about on this show that are basically like headlines that read, big company caught in shill bidding. Is that the reason for this big boom in card prices? Shill bidding, is that the reason why the market has gone the way it is? Come on. That's like clickbait. It's, trying to grab headlines. Sure, I'm sure that there are bad actors out there. Like there are bad actors in every market. It's like saying that the couple of people who inside trade are the reason why, Tesla stock has gone up, right? Or the reason why, any specifics, or the reason why the market has gone up because one stock was pumped up. Just don't buy into a lot of that garbage that's out there. You can find the article. You'll know who I'm talking about. A lot of folks have been chatting about that specific, headline. Don't get nuts. The fundamentals of the hobby are still about as sound as can be. There's a lot of money coming in. And even the stuff I talked about in the beginning about the Asian market, I say this all the time, nature abhors a vacuum, right? And if there's a gap, it will be filled. So, I'm not that concerned in the long run. The Asian market will get their cards. Someone will find a way to make sure that they're taken care of and that their money is still being spent on the cards that they want. So even with all this hobby drama, as I like to call it, I'm as optimistic as ever about the hobby going forward.
I think 100%, man. There's just people getting in, regardless of all the nonsense. There's more and more people getting in, and there's people like me, man, who are 28, 31, 32. They're having kids, and in 3, 4, 5 years, I don't have kids, but a lot of my friends are married and have kids. In a few years, they're going to be ripping packs with their kids. Because the hardest thing right now that I've noticed, and I see it when I go over to their house and I see it's hard to connect with kids today, right? You get a lot of parents give them the iPad and are like, go play. But when you have cards, you're like, you could really get to know your kids. You could go after, like, that was my favorite player growing up. I love this guy, and you could story tell. I don't see that stopping, Cage. And I got to tell you, man, we've gotten some really awesome DMs from you guys. The thread there is that they love that we're candid and off the cuff, but we also don't take ourselves too seriously. We could laugh at ourselves. We could laugh at each other. We could disagree and then still love each other and be like, dude, we're boys. That's a big deal. So thank you, guys. Thank you for all that feedback. Thank you for leaving us reviews on Apple iTunes. I didn't know this, but when you guys leave reviews, it pushes us up the charts and we get more viewership, more visibility. We could bring on bigger guests and bring on more opportunities for you guys. So thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart.
So I have it. Let's call it an ask, right? So 2 of them. Number one, if you're going to the East Coast National this weekend, send us a message. Maybe we'll start a group of people who are going and make sure that we get a chance to meet you guys. It's relatively close to where I live, so I'll be able to figure it out. And then another ask: if you happen to be driving, from Philly or to Philly, from the show any of these days, let us know that as well, because we might be able to give you a live podcast from your car.
So this would be a great show. I want to do this. I love driving people to the airport, and I love picking people up from the airport because there's 2 things to this, right? Like when you're locked in a car with someone, you get the most candid and authentic conversations. I really believe that, right? No distractions. You're just in a car driving. So I'm a good co-passenger. Great tunes.
Yep.
No pressure. I don't stop every 5 minutes. So thank you, Cage. Thank you for putting that out there.
No, I mean, seriously, the dude's going to come and hang out at the East Coast National.
Sure. I'm flying in on Friday. I need a ride to Philly on Saturday night or Sunday. So thank you. If anyone out there, shoot me a DM.
Yeah, let us know if you're going, guys. Thanks.